Hi, I am Ashley Pfeiffer. I am the maker behind Stamped AF. I've got Deacon in my lap who loves to get a cuddle as I film my videos. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and if you live in the area or anywhere in Canada for that matter and do not yet have a demonstrator, feel free to contact me and I would be thrilled to fill that role for you. You can find everything you need at stampedaf.ca, where you can take in a blog post, you can see some of my upcoming events so that you can see me and this guy in person. All my social links are there, so you can go on Pinterest and repin some of my pins. You can go on Instagram and show me some Insta love. You can go onto Facebook and catch a Facebook Live, which I do every week. Right now we're trying out Wednesday evenings to see how that works. But if you, like me, like to craft as therapy, then catch me on YouTube where I drop a new video every week. Hit that big subscribe button below, and better yet, hit the bell right beside it so that you can be notified when a new video drops. And without further ado, let's get our craft on. So this is the card we are going to make. I have a couple of weddings coming up, and I mean, it's getting to wedding season, so I think we probably all do. But I created this morning. I woke up just inspired and thinking about this card, and I didn't do it exactly as I had thought about it, but it's pretty darn close. So you can see it says happy, and this is with the new lined alphabet and the Layering Alphabet Edgelits. And I am just obsessed with these. If you caught my last video, you saw that I was using them, and a couple of Instagram posts, which I have pinned and shared on Facebook. So love, 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 love. You can see, this is one I haven't posted yet, but you can also use the negative. So this right here, sorry, that was like an extreme close-up. This is the positive. So I cut out the B, the L, O, O, M, bloom, and then I used varied vases as the flowers in here on some shimmer cardstock. Not crazy about how that looks. It was a good idea in theory, but I don't know, I'm not digging it. But I wanted to find a way that I could use the negatives. So if you can see up close, you can kind of see the grooves from where the dies or the edgelets cut or rest, the mechanism rests. So I thought, well, how am I going to use this? Because you end up seeing everywhere that the mechanism was. And I think if I hold it that way, you can kind of see there's like a little rectangle there. So I figured if I embossed them, then I could use them, and I was right. So these are the negatives from this. So these are basically an A2 sized card mat, which was 4 by 5 1/4. So one sheet did all of this, and then all I did was use the edgelets to cut out these letters, and I stamped them again with the varied vases, and then just did an outline. In hindsight, I could have used the stamp set to do that, but I kind of like it. And then there's nothing on the inside yet, but this one is a full card. Right now this is just matte because I wasn't thrilled with how it turned out. But I wanted to show you that there is a way that you can use both the positive and the negative. So that was my first try at it, but this one is like, sorry for the bragging, but it's a masterpiece. So it's an open flap card, and I originally thought it would open that way, but so it says Happy Love Day, and then it opens that way. And I actually had this mat cut out. This is for a family wedding on the weekend, and I was going to use this as the front, but I changed my mind and just put it on the inside. So this is a very substantial card in weight, but I just love how I ended up fitting that together. Isn't that beautiful? So we are going to make one for another wedding that's coming up using some different DSP and a different suite. Well, we're still going to use the Layering Alphabet. These are from the Nature's Poem bundle from the upcoming catalog, and at this point I don't think I'm going to use any stamps from it. I'm just going to use these edgelets, and then we'll use the DSP. So this is Petal Pink. This is a gorgeous leaf paper, and all of our designer series paper is double-sided, so I wanted to use that, but I want to keep it light because it is still spring here in Manitoba. Tranquil Tide a little dark. So again, I wanted to keep the rest of it light so that that doesn't stand out so much. This is mint macaron. Another gorgeous DSP, and I was going to use the stripe side, but I think it might be just a little bit too much. And then this is Grapefruit Grove, and this is one of the incoming in colors. So let's get to this. I'm going to keep this one kind of here. I've got an A2 Whisper White thick cardstock card base, and it is 5.5 by 4 1/4, and it is a top folding card. So we'll just kind of keep that off to the side because we're not going to need that yet. I will grab my Layering Alphabet Edgelit dies. And this is maybe one of the best purchases I've ever made through Stampin' Up. I hemmed and hawed. I thought, oh, I should get the large letter thinlits. And I will at some point, but this one I just thought, you know, there's not a lot of people using this set yet, and I would love to be a go-to on this set. Have my stuff kind of go viral. How cool would that be? So I figured I can get those large letter edgelets a different time. So this is the mechanism. If you haven't caught my other video, I did one last week that used the same set, and it was it wasn't as advanced as this one will be. This one is fairly advanced because you're using both the positive and the negative, and you need to be able to have this part interlock. So fingers crossed that we can accomplish that again. I did it this morning, but who knows if it's going to work again. So let's move this out. We need, well, before we move that out, another thing is I wrote the letters on here because not all of them are obvious, and I will show you what I mean by that. So I used a nice light gray Sharpie on that. This morning didn't go so well. I ended up using the Q instead of a P, which ruined my cardstock, so I took a nice black Sharpie marker and used it for the P because I don't want to be wasting this gorgeous cardstock. So right now I don't have these on magnetic sheets, and I said last week that I wasn't going to, but they are also, the adhesive is starting to lose its stick. So the Y won't stay on, the U, because these are letters that I've used, are not staying on. So I will figure out a way that I can use magnetic sheets. Okay, just trying to keep this so you can see that, but not have it take up the whole frame. I don't have a ton of space. So these I think are going to be on the bottom. Actually, no, one of them is not. I'm going to have it like this. No, I think we're going to do it like this. I want this to be the Y on the other side. So there we go. I've got my big shot right here. So we are going to start with the H, and you can see on here you don't need as much room for that H. So I'm going to try and preserve some of this cardstock, and you can see there are these little notches on here that lines up with an A2 card mat. I haven't measured out to see what the sizes are yet, but it works, trust me. And you will be able to get your own set of these in the upcoming annual catalog. So watch all the videos you can before you order your own set. There are some great ones out there. Haven't seen a lot, but Jessica from Stamp a Blessing has some great ones. And then of course me. Okay, so we'll just run this through the big shot. Sorry about my arm being in there. And I'm going to do most of this card in real time so that you're not having to try and figure out what it is I'm doing. So this has the potential to be a long video. So if you get the gist of it and don't want to hear me talking the whole way through, then just adjust your speed setting. But if it is your first time doing this, you may appreciate the full experience. Okay, so there's the H. We are still not sure about those stripes. I think this is going to be the better one to do. Now, what I have done is I like to line this up and then move just the tiniest bit over. Now this one, I've cut my paper just a little bit smaller, so I can't use these marks, but basically just kind of center it. And we are not using the full width. You can see on this one, I trimmed it down a little bit so that you could see that background. So it does not have to be perfect. Grab our A. Insert cheesy Canadian joke here. And you can hear they click in. I found one slid on me when it was in the Big Shot, so I now use washi tape just to ensure that it stays in place. And I'll move my Big Shot into the full frame. If you can see, I always put this part of the mechanism in first and ensure that these stay on top of my cutting surface. You know what? I'm gonna turn this around so you don't have to see my arm halfway through the shot every time. Okay, so ensure those are in there, because once it goes through, this is your maximum width and you do not want your mechanism getting ruined. And so far I have found going through twice releases it without any effort at all. You can see it already wants to come out. So there we go. There is our A. And you just keep, move that a little bit further out. You just keep going. So I can use this piece for something later. This paper is too gorgeous to throw any of it away. So that will go in my scrap pile. Now we have a P. And next is going to be our Grapefruit Grove, so just line that up. Line it up with a Tranquil tie because that's the full piece again. And once you get used to using this set, it's going to be so much easier. The first couple times it's a little bit of hit or miss, but basically that is the look you're going for. And then that way you don't have to go so far over on your cardstock that you end up wasting unnecessarily. We could start gluing these together so that we don't have to keep them so close the entire time, but so you just need to line it up so that part of that is covered. We'll line it up to that first piece of DSP because that should be about the same level. And like I said, we're going to be trimming it down, so if you don't get perfect placement, that's just fine. Try and remove any cutouts that land or stay, on your platform, because it will add an extra indentation that you do not want. See, going through twice, it doesn't want to stay in there anymore. It's like, I'm so over this. Let me out. So we are done with our 2-letter P's. I like to put them back right away so that I know that I've put them back, because on my card this morning, the H ended up sticking to my cutting mat, and then when I went to cut my A, I ended up with an H, and I had to start over because it took part of my paper off. There ended up being a little gap, and so make sure you don't have any rogue letters hanging around for the ride. Okay, now this one is going to be the mint macaron because we want to have that as our Y on the bottom side. You can see those kind of interlock. You know what? I am going to start gluing these. So I use Tombow all the way, and I just go around the outside, give it a little line on the letter. There we go. You could use dimensionals, but this is already, see, I didn't need all that glue on the back. It's already a pretty substantial weight because of all of the different papers and the overlap. And you can see we don't have the exact same distance between all of them, but essentially you just want to have it where part of that line is covered so you don't end up seeing the seam. You see how this is here? You don't want to see that triangle on all of them. Okay, so moving on to our Y. Now, sorry, our Y is going to be that whole width. You can see, and I need to remember in doing that I need to have a flap. We will use this, and what we are going to do there is you can see I've lined up my tranquil tide right to the end. Line up our guides here. Oops. Forgot there's a little bit of adhesive on there, so it's sticking down. Let's put our Y in here first so we know exactly where it's going. Sorry, that was totally out of the frame. Okay, again, let's line our tranquil tide up there. That is good placement. Being sure to line up your guides again. Whoops. Go, we'll run that through. And that one actually I could see had already been released without going through a second time. So I'll just do that. Glue them on, and then we'll cut it all down. I don't want to be making multiple cuts. I don't want to have anything at a different level. Now, ideally, you should have these all the same so that you've got one layer. You don't have differing heights. Whoa. Okay, we're gonna let that sit for a while. As we move on to the next part, I will have to trim this, and then we're gonna trim a little bit down. Okay, so we're gonna leave that aside. We are going to take our mechanism off of here. We're done with it. And you can see what I mean with those marks from the mechanism, so we will emboss that to get rid of it. It would appear that my washi tape has had enough, so and now we are going to grab our card base, which is buried under here, of course, And we need to make sure that it is going to be in the same place as our happy. So it can't be any further over. So do you see what I mean? You want to interlock them before you attach, because if I had gone to the end here, you can see that I would have had to take off some of this side, which isn't going to be easy. So let's line this up on the inside, which it doesn't want to do because of that piece of Tranquil Tide. Line this up here. And we may have to trim a tiny bit off of our card base there, but no biggie. Okay, and we can't adhere this yet because we need to run it through our Big Shot. So I am going to use the Petal Burst. So sorry, I'm totally out of the frame here. We are going to use our Petal Burst embossing folder. Lay that in there. And I have dedicated embossing plates so that I don't end up with the weird cutting marks from my other plates. And I only run my embossing through one way and then just push this back. So there we go. You can still see a little bit of it, but I mean, if someone's looking that close. Okay, next we need to do, so we're done with that for now. I think what I will, let's glue this down before, oh no I can't. So let's line up the rest. You can see the rest of them are underneath, so I can't glue that down. We need to start with a D. And we have not had a D that we can use. So we are going to use this beautiful DSP. And what we need to do is line this up, grab our A, and again, we do not need our mechanism for this one because we are just gonna freestyle. You can hear letters falling off. Now I did leave a bit of a gap with this one. Oh, you know what? We do need our mechanism. I don't want to freestyle. I'm thinking of the next step. So I always remove a bit of the adhesive from the washi tape because I do not want to wreck it. Okay, so our A needs to go in here. Again, we'll washi tape that in. Line it up so that we know it's going to work with our D. Use our guidelines. I'm going to move it over just a little bit. I'd rather have a little more than not enough. Let's run that through. Changing our sandwich back to cutting. Ensuring again that these are within the sandwich so that they don't get squished. Now the other thing we could do is we could use the Y, or sorry, the A from earlier. But now we have a perfect A for something else. So if you would like to have the same DSP as your original A, by all means, but for me, I think that's going to be a little too dark. I wanted to keep this light. So there's our our A and our Y. Would appear I need some Sesame Street. Okay, and grab our D. Whoops. Place this down in our mechanism. And then let's use our Grapefruit Grove, which in hindsight is a little bit too much orange in one place. So I think what we are going to do, we can't use this one because obviously it would be a bay that way. So let's see if we can use this while preserving some of that paper. So we're going to line this up the way we have every other time, and we just need to ensure that we have enough room for that part of the D. And it should work out just right. So there we go, and now we just need some white. We are going to use a Tranquil Tide card base, and we are going to attach this here. And then this, which we still have to trim down, will go there. So remember, we still have to line it up. I don't think it'll be the same if it's not interlocking. I mean, you're welcome to do it how you want, but for me, I want this interlocking. So I'm just going to take this and cut it down. And for that, I'm going to use my Carl cutter. I find that my guillotine trimmer isn't quite strong enough. This is a job for Carl. It may take a couple of passes, but you will get a perfect line through all of them. So do that on this side as well. I would like to turn it upside down, but I get a weird little edge on it. So make sure that you're getting to the point of your highest. You want to get all of the, see, look, one pass. Now we are at, I'm going to take it down to just 4 3/4, which is only a tiny bit off here. And we could use the cutter for this, but I am just going to use my scissors. Ensuring not to cut that mint macaron base because we don't want to cut our flap. These interlocking, everything is the same height. We're almost ready to attach this. I can tell you when I made this morning, it was a lot less finicky. I think it, as I said before, it was purely fluke that it fit so perfectly. Okay, remember, you're not gluing this part, you're only putting it on the flap. So, very awkwardly turn this over, interlock these for the last time, and simultaneously, let's flip this over. We are going to lay this down without getting our Tombow all over our card base. We are going to make sure this flap has room to fold before this Tombow sets, okay? Now, there we go. Just give that a good press, and now of course everything is sticky. Got some glue on my paper. And see, this shifted on me. So let's see if this is probably set too far. So what we can do is grab some good old dental floss. This has been a good video for tips and tricks. So this didn't go down exactly the way I wanted. So take some dental floss, work it in under there. And because Tombow is so great at setting so fast, you're just going to secure your cardstock down, which is easier said than done. And you are going to work your dental floss through here to lift it off of your card base without ruining it. That is the key here. You don't want to have to start over with another piece of Tranquil Tide. Our cardstock is beautiful and expensive, and you don't want to waste it. I know I've certainly wasted my fair share. So this tip is a fantastic one. So you can see I just worked it all around the edges. Voila! So make sure you add some dental floss to your craft room arsenal. Let's try this again, shall we? We want this lined right up. And it just moved on me at the very last second when I went to adhere it. So you can see now that it doesn't line up perfectly on the edges. So I'm going to take a ruler and a pencil and I am going to cut whatever is causing this problem off. Okay, so I am taking just I'm taking a sliver off of here. You can see that I got some glue on here, so another trick, adhesive remover, another Dollar Tree find. Just take your corner, and I've done this a little bit already, so these spots may not go away, but that's okay. Now you can see what I did originally was I tied some ribbon around there. But now this doesn't go all the way to the bottom and this isn't all the way there, but we can still do some ribbon there. I have some burlap that I am thinking would be fast. Going to grab Heart Happiness, which is retiring in 11 short days, something like that. May 31st is the last day of the Occasions catalog, and this is part of the Occasions catalog and it is not carrying over. So if you have been thinking about it, if it's on your wish list, or if I have convinced you today that you need it, grab it now. So I'm pulling out my Stamparatus. There's no room for that magnet. We're just gonna lock that piece down. We're gonna put this heart where we want it. Fold down our door and put down this magnet. June 1st is the start of the new annual catalog. Sorry, words are hard. And with that means that the Stamparatus is now a regular product. So you can order it. You can place your order if you don't already have one, June 1st. We are going to stamp up our heart. And I've got my chamois over there, but I'm just gonna wipe this excess off because we have done a lot of work. If we got ink somewhere that we didn't want it right now, I would cry. I don't know about you, but I would cry. Okay, so you can see this Stamparatus is perfect for this because I did not get a good impression. Now that's a little bit darker than I wanted, so I am going to just basically stamp this off on some paper towel because I don't want it to be quite so juicy, but I do want ink in that spot. So Stamparatus is perfect for this. See what I mean? It is a lot darker than I wanted it to be, but you win some, you lose some. still looks pretty. So that is my favorite heart from this set, but there are quite a few. This one here is adorable, and I have made a fantastic card, if I do say so myself, using that one. And the Stamparatus would be a great tool for that as well. You ink up your heart in 4 different colors, or however many colors you wanted, if you wanted to have those two the same and those two the same. And then you just hinge stamp. I actually line these up by eyeball, but you could definitely use a Stamparatus for that. So this heart alone was what sold me. And then this was second. But there are some great hearts in here. So like I said, get it before May 31st. So what I did this morning was I took a scrap piece of like computer paper, which of course I don't have right now. Take a piece of your scrap, whatever it is, this is a piece of grid paper, and just run your snail over it. If you have the adhesive sheets, by all means use those too, or instead, not two. And just hold your letters down, because if you don't, chances are they are going to rip. Now before you place this down, again, take your paper piercing tool and kind of scrub out any of the adhesive that's in or around places that it shouldn't be. And you can just wipe it off on your scrap paper. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So we're just going to adhere that down, making sure that it doesn't touch that seam. It can overlap that D a little bit. And there you go. That's it, guys. It took a hell of a long time, but we're done.